Hi, I'm Paul Montone. I'm here with Greg Kaminski, Roberto Suarez, and Tammy Dowd Shearer, and we are talking about retaining students in our online classrooms. Roberto and Tammy, could you introduce yourselves, please?
Sure, I'm Roberto Suarez. My primary job at PCC is working as one of our pathway guidance managers, working with academic advisors and career services staff. But I also am a part-time instructor, and I have been teaching the CG 100 online course for over a decade at this point.
Hi, my name is Tammy Dowd Shearer. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And my primary job at PCC is as a counselor in the counseling center. I'm typically at the Sylvania campus. And I've had the pleasure of teaching CG 100 online for almost as long as Roberto has in the web format.
Thank you. Roberto, what are your strategies and approaches for retaining students in the online classroom environment?
Yeah, I mean, there's been multiple things that I have tried. Online can bring its own particular set of challenges when it comes to student retention. And to me, retention starts with engagement, making sure that we are engaging students and making them understand that they are being listened to and that their information is being paid attention to. I think sometimes in the online environment, it can feel isolating for students. And if you're not engaging with students frequently, they might feel like, well, am I just kind of going through this course by myself type of experience? But it's not a self-paced experience. It's supposed to be an engaging experience where you're engaging with other students and your instructor. What I found is the importance of the instructor taking part of that engagement too, that we're not there necessarily to dictate or drive the conversation, but for the students, both the students who we are responding to and those who are also engaged in the dialogue, to feel like the instructor is also a part of that conversation. And so I made a kind of a commitment to myself of using this as an opportunity to engage with every student every week. There's at least one post that I put in the discussions in response to every individual student. It gives me an opportunity to respond to them, give them feedback, give them my insights, just an opportunity to really engage directly with the student as a member of that community. And it helps also kind of model for other students the type of engagement and response that we should be engaging in the class. And I find when I do my evaluations at the end of the term, that tends to be one of the areas that students point out as being particularly important for them as part of the class, that not only did they get the opportunity to engage with other students, but that the instructor was frequently engaged in those discussions as well. I believe with that engagement has helped students really kind of stay connected. Plus, it helps you build those connections with students in a more open setting. And I think that helps build trust so that later on, if I'm talking about in a particular discussion, I mentioned the importance of your network of support and connecting with your instructors and understanding that your instructors want to see you succeed. That student might be much more willing later on to engage with me one-on-one if they have a particular problem or a particular challenge that they feel now, hey, I know what my instructor has said before. I can reach out to them and tell them about this particular problem that's, probably conflicting or causing an issue with my ability to engage in the class or whatever it is. So it does then kind of put into practice the things that we're learning in class as well.
Roberto, I have a follow-up question on that. So I like the modeling that you're doing that you mentioned with students. That's wonderful. And responding to every student that way, yeah, that must take a lot of time, and they must really feel that connection. Do you find that your participation in that manner detracts at all from other students responding? Because I assume other students are supposed to respond as well. Do they get into it as much, or do they feel like, oh, the instructor's already said everything?
No, I have not found that, because the reality is the students have so many more opportunities to engage, right? I kind of check it daily during the week so that I can stay on top of what's happening. And many times students have already started the engagement prior to me joining the conversation. If anything, I think it maybe helps break the ice a little bit, because once they see, oh, okay, the instructor has responded to the student, other students will then have the opportunity to see that it's not that big of a deal, and you can just come in and join the conversation. Also, inevitably, there are posts that get more engagement from some students than from others. And so this is also a way for every student to have at least a response to their post. So it's good for me to then be able to jump in there and validate and let that student know, hey, I read what you wrote and I have some feedback for you here.
Thank you, Roberto. I'd also like to add, in listening to you, I see the value in just broadcasting the message that you're there and you're there to help.
You know, one of the promises that I tell students, you know, if you reach out to me via email or in a discussion, I'll try to get back to you within the day. And this is a way that they see it actively, right? They see, oh, look, he is really here every day responding to us. So it's not just lip service or whatever. He really is practicing what he said he was going to do.
Thank you for sharing that. So Tammy, let's let you share a little bit about strategies for retaining students, something that you like to use. And I think there's something about a Zoom meet and greet meeting.
Yeah, thanks. And I think one of those challenges, particularly for me as a counselor who's so relational, is that I don't get to meet my students in person, right? I don't get to hear really their stories one-on-one and have that connection. And so I've always felt like that was a challenge in teaching an online class is missing that connection. And everybody was using Zoom, and I was introduced to using Zoom. I thought, well, hey, wait a minute. I might be able to use Zoom to find that connection with my students. And so one of the things that I did was I developed an optional kind of bonus assignment for students to do a meet and greet with me during the first 2 weeks of the term so that we could have an opportunity to make some more connections and to hopefully build some comfort level in reaching out. So I put it in as an assignment in D2L, and I linked in the assignment instructions to a Google form that listed both group sessions, so students could choose a day and a time to attend the Zoom group meet and greet, or I made an option for them, for students who either couldn't attend that or just didn't feel comfortable in a group setting, to just outreach to me to schedule a one-on-one. And so I do a number of the sessions, and during those sessions, not only do we introduce ourselves to each other in the class, I also introduce some of the basic course content, do a really brief syllabus review, kind of like my top 5 highlights to remember about the class. And then just kind of talk about myself a little bit to be able to create a familiarity with students. And I've seen a real change in engagement since I started doing this. What I found is that students then have already met each other in this environment. And so in the discussion, they're more likely to engage with the people that they've met and maybe email each other offline as well outside of the discussion board. And the other thing that I've noticed is that students are more likely to email me to reach out for assistance. And I think that's really been helpful for them to have that connection. For me as an instructor, it's been really helpful because now I can put a face to the name. Now I've got a little bit of background about the student. I know a little bit of their story. And so when I'm reading their discussion posts or their assignments, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember they talked about that. Yeah. And that's really helpful for me to be able to track and then provide more individualized and personalized feedback, both in the discussion and on the assignment. So I really like it. I think it's been a really great addition to the online learning environment.
Great. What a way to build community. That's excellent. And to help with retention. I do something similar with my class, and I know it helps with retention. So it's wonderful technique that you're doing that.
You're going to have to share that one with me, Tammy, because I want to take a look at that bonus assignment. I might have to incorporate that in my class as well.
It's really fun, too.
Great.
In an interesting way, too, I think I found teaching online that sometimes students need to be reminded that they have the permission to reach out for help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really am about support resources. And so if students can reach out and they know that I'm a person that can get them connected, I always say to them, I've been around a long time and I don't have all the answers, but I bet I know someone at PCC who does. And so if you have a question, even if it's not related to the course, please reach out to me and let me be the person who gets you connected to the person who has the answer. And that's been really helpful too.
I like how you've made it optional, but you've put it into the assignment area as well. So So it looks pretty official, I bet, and this makes students want to come to it. So that's great. I do something similar, but it's not optional, and it's one-on-one, and it's a scheduled one-on-one meeting is what I use. That has worked well, but I'd like to try your group meet and greet sometime. Sounds great.
Thank you, Tammy. And Roberto, you mentioned something about course progress notes and strategies you use around that. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I remember coming across an article on the damage that we sometimes do when we're intending to do something good, that sometimes it can actually be damaging. And that for certain students, especially students who are, maybe particularly vulnerable about their college experience, maybe they don't see themselves as college material or are suffering from a lot of like imposter syndrome around the idea of, do I really belong in college? Systems like course progress notifications, though well-intended, the way that they are structured can sometimes help validate for the students those feelings. The way that our CPNs are designed within the system that we have, without thinking, it has some areas where you can kind of pre-select some responses, and you can go, okay, yeah, I'm going to pre-select this to let the student know what their grade is. And then there's a narrative box at the bottom where you can write your comments. So what happens is, the first thing that you're receiving, let's say you're not passing the class, right? You have a D or an F, and you receive a course progress notification from your instructor. And the first thing that it says at the top of the page is, your current grade is F. It validates to the student who's doubting, whether or not they're college material. What it does is it basically says, okay, this proves it. I don't belong here, right? It's kind of a very in-your-face way. But if you have any doubt or any concern, and especially if you're not doing well in the class, you already kind of know in the back of your head, I'm kind of in trouble in this class already. By seeing that, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, then I don't belong here. And if anything, it probably encourages students to disengage further from the class. And so I kind of flipped the narrative on that. I decided, I kind of playing with the CPN. I saw, hey, if I don't pre-select anything, it goes straight to that text box. So I just figured I'm just going to write a narrative for every student. It starts with, hi, I'm Roberto Suarez. I'm your CG100 instructor. Thank you for taking my class this term. I'm happy to have you here in class. So I'm already kind of setting up the stage on a positive. Then I move into whether it's good news or bad news. Then I move into that next phase. I say, hey, just wanted to let you know that at this point, this is the grade in your class. But again, kind of trying to give it with positive spin. I'm really concerned, and I want you to know that you can reach out to me and that we can talk about what's going on so that we can help you turn things around. There may be a roadblock that you ran into here that is in the way, and I'm happy to engage with you. And there's resources that I can also refer you to or help you get connected with. And just from the term that I went from the old way of doing CPNs to starting with this, right away, the response from students, especially those who were struggling in class, it was almost like a valve went off. Like I could hear the release of tension, like the students saying, "Oh my God, thank you so much for sending me this. I've been freaking out. I haven't been doing well in class. I understand, but your message really kind of finally prompted me to say something now, right?" And so that piece really kind of has been something that, again, it's a little bit more work. I did create a document with kind of some boilerplate language just to kind of help me frame, what type of response I should use depending on where the student is at that point in the term. But it's all customizable, right? I also make sure to include their name in the response. Hey, Joseph, or hey, Ann. This is, so that they know that I wrote this specifically to the student. And like I said, it starts to let the student, it's yet another way for the student to know that we want to see them succeed, and that this is an opportunity for you to now, feel safe, feel like you can trust me to reach out. Let's talk about what's going on. There's always something that we can do to help turn things around. So the other piece with that too is I always tended to only send CPNs to students who were not doing well in class. I now send CPNs to all students. And to the student who has an A, they get a message that says, you're doing great in class. And, I just want to encourage you to continue doing that great work. And again, if at any point you need any help with anything, just reach out to me, but keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. And those validations, I get feedback from students too. Thank you so much. Just a quick email with an exclamation point. Wow, thank you. This is great. I have just found it to be yet another very positive practice. And throughout students that I know I would have lost during the term, I've been able to see opportunities where we've engaged, and those students have been able to turn things around, where in the past I probably would have lost those students.
That's excellent advice, Roberto. Send the CPN to all students. And also the tip about skipping the upper section and skipping right to the narrative. So crucial. Just a quick follow-up question with that. It used to be that if you put anything in quotation marks, like a grade, in the narrative, the text would stop right there. It would end right there. And is that still the case? So
it's still the case. So you don't put any quotation marks.
I will say that Roberto shared his CPN document with me, and it has also been a game changer in my section of the class. And I've been doing that same approach, and it has been an awesome experience to see students either responding with, wow, I had no idea. Thanks for letting me know I had an A, yay. Or, oh, I had no idea. What do I need to do? If a student is missing assignments or quizzes, I will create a list and include that in the CPN. Here's the work that you're missing that you could still submit with a list. So it's really clear for them. And then another message of, please reach out to me.
Yeah.
Great idea. You're building in that self-reflection. And Tammy, you have another strategy to share regarding flexibility, I believe.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into what we were saying about the CPNs and sending out a list to students of the work that they are missing, also with an opportunity to submit that work.